Okay. Call to order. Welcome to Aurora's Committee of Adjustment meeting. The time is 7:02 p.m. on Thursday, October 10, 2024. I would like to call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. I will start by introducing the committee members and staff. I am the committee chair. My name is David Muhango. And the remaining members are as follows: Jane Stevenson, Vice Chair; Christopher Porcinelli, Michael Visconti, and Julian Young. The town staff are Peter Fan, who's the Secretary Treasurer, and Antonio Greco, who's the Senior Planner. Land acknowledgement. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to stay to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us work together into a better future. Tonight's meeting will now commence. We'll start with the approval of agenda. Now I'll be looking for a mover and seconder from the committee members. I see Julian Young as the mover. I guess Jane, you're seconding? Okay. So all in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Declarations of interest. To the members, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? I can see heads shaking, so none. Confirmation of past minutes. I would like to have a mover and a seconder. Michael Visconti is the mover, seconder Jane. All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Now, hearing of the applications. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually and through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available through town staff. Applicants and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the applications, and then the applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Presentations and deputations are limited to 5 minutes, as much as possible. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the Secretary Treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form available through the Secretary Treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting, and they will not be noted in any manner or at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentations shall be made. If you require any technical assistance with your presentation, please let me know. If you wish to speak and are currently following this meeting on the YouTube feed, you will need to turn this feed off and join the live meeting, as there is a slight lag between the YouTube and the live feed. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair. And if relevant, I will request the appropriate person to respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any question or comments should the committee feel that is appropriate. We'll now start reviewing the applications in the order they appear on the advertisement. Now, the first application is a minor variance application number MV-2024-24 at 5 Vata Court. The application. The owner is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate overnight accommodation within the pet services permitted use. The following relief is being requested. Section 3 of the zoning bylaw 600-17, under the definition of pet services, does not allow for overnight accommodation for animals. The applicant is proposing overnight accommodations for animals. Applicants stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated on the application form, the applicant is looking to add overnight pet boarding services to the existing business. The applicant indicates that without overnight pet boarding services, the business has suffered substantial losses since leasing the unit in October 2022, as the original business plan and the pro forma included revenues from overnight pet boarding. Public correspondence. We have one letter of opposition, and we don't have any letters of support. In conclusion, planning staff believe that the requested variance meets the 4 texts of the Planning Act for granting minor variances. Staff recommend approval of the requested variance subject to one condition outlined in the staff report. This is the application. So do we have any agent or applicant who wants to make a presentation? I can see Adrian Cheng. So are you the owner or applicant? And I would like you to provide your name and also your address. I can see there's another person there. Similarly, you need to provide your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Adrian Charles. I'm the consultant for Cindy, C&D Pet Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Cindy, if you would introduce yourself. We cannot hear you. I think you are muted.
Okay. So my name is Cindy Huang. I'm the owner of the C&D Pet Hotel. So yeah, this is so I will let the agent to introduce like the presentation for the everything.
Okay. So if you have a presentation, Adrian, you can go ahead. I'm not sure, maybe you arranged with staff to display for you. I'm not sure. Michael, you wanted?
Mr. Chair, the applicants didn't provide their address.
Okay, so Adrian, can you provide your address? We cannot hear you. You are muted.
Okay.
My home address or just Cindy's business address?
I think you okay.
If Cindy's
Peter.
business address, okay, would be number 9.
Is
Pardon
town
me?
staff here?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, Adrian, can you please provide your either your work address or your personal address for the record in addition to your name? Also Cindy, the same, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Name's Adrian Chong, and then my address is 71 Frank Rivers Drive, Toronto, Ontario, M1W 3N3.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Cindy, if you could do this similar.
Oh yeah. So my home address is 21 Richmond CRT Scarborough M1T1T5 and Canada. In my, do you need my office address?
I think your office address is more
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have do you want to make a presentation?
Yeah, you mean the presentation of the whole application, or I thought like okay, I thought the case has been reviewed, and so I just have to just go through the whole case, right? The whole application
so,
again, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you have got a few minutes, 5 minutes. So it's up to you in terms of what you want to talk about your project to make sure the committee members they have adequate information about your project. So basically, it's all up to you. Or maybe you think if you think the information has already been provided in the staff report or other documents, then you don't need to make a presentation. So it's all up to you.
Yeah, I think like we already submit the plan, the site plan, everything, the mitigations factors, and we talk about like how this is we serve the community and how this won't be an issue to the neighborhood, and we talk about the industrial area plaza of that premises. So everything's is actually like it's quite a straightforward applications in my idea. And yeah, I was waiting that like if you have any questions, you can ask us. And
okay, thank you very much. So Cindy, do you have anything else, or whatever Adrian has said, that's enough?
Because of this, we are applying for this overnight because this zoning is a permit for the daycare and the pet grooming already, right? So we are just doing the overnight the permit. So everything we are ready and then the completely ready. So everything we approve for the document as well. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Peter, do we have any public delegates who would like to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no public delegations for this application.
Okay. So looking to the committee members, if you have any questions or any comments. Okay, Julian.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So my question is for the applicant. The concern raised by member of the community is about noise. So I guess if you could talk about the different ways that you have planned to deal with noise, both going out and coming in. So the letter of opposition mostly deals with a worry that the GO train that passes by close to the unit will affect negatively on the well-being of the pets staying at the unit.
Yeah, okay. First of all, when I look at this oppositions, this gentleman didn't use a valid address. 11 Veritas not know this address. I'm not sure whether the city has the town has a regulation that everyone's opposed to anything need to have a real address instead of a fake address. This is the first thing I like to know.
Okay, so Peter or Antonio, what Adrian is asking is, are you able to confirm that 11 VAT address exists? That address exists?
For you, Mr. Chair, just give us 1 second and I can verify whether that's a valid address.
So through you, Mr. Chair, as well, that doesn't answer my question, regardless of whether the address is correct or not. The question I asked remains.
No, okay. I have that first question, but I can address your questions. Okay, because this is, I don't think this is an issue for pet. If there's an issue for pet, that should be an issue for human being as well. Like if we look at the from satellite map, there's so many residence houses along the GO train rail. Right? If you and not to mention about how many pets are in those residents. So if this is an issue for pet, then it should be the issue for human being. And I think when provincial governments allow a track to build along the residential area to build like this way, I'm sure that a lot of standard building code has been made. Right? If this is the issue, say for number 5 villa, that would be an issue for all other city, that would be a provincial national issue, right? So that's our point, right? And if and actually this sounds like the opposition's talking about the boarding and overnight boarding, and we check the GO train's schedule. Actually, the GO train schedule for the Aurora run only the daytimes and run as late to around 10 o'clock at night. So during the nighttime, there's no GO trains for that station.
Okay, Antonio, probably you have an answer confirming the address.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we do have an address for 11 Vada Court. Regardless, the question still be answered regardless whether the address is a valid address.
Thank you. Through you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair, I don't think my question's been answered.
Yes.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, if I can, just to clarify more, has any sound proofing been built into the planning the unit at all? Because I know similar businesses elsewhere in Aurora would put a lot of thought into perhaps adding sound deadening materials in the walls, for example, to minimize both sound going in and out.
I think when Cindy applied to put this premises as a pet boarding facility, the building code, everything has been made. And to fulfill the requirement has been fulfilled. And right now, when Cindy tried to build the overnight boarding, And it would also build up some cage, right? A different 2-level cage, and those cages are also would add the soundproof measure to the unit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Michael.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a question to the applicant. What is the maximum, what is the envisioned number of pets that would stay overnight?
From the 15 to maybe like the 18, not too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because under the staff report, it's looking at, 12 partition.
Yeah, so the maximum, I say the maximum. So sometimes the small that we like to separate like the small size and the medium size and the large size dog and then separate the room. And then yeah, they have this like the space.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
So anybody, Jane or Chris, any comments? Okay, my comment, I think, is a follow-up comment by Julian. I think Adrian, you mentioned about the sort of proofing the walls. Is it what I heard, like noise? Is that something you are? Can you confirm? Is it something you are doing, or you have done already?
So some parts we already did because the dog is play too much. Some parts we need to make more stronger, and then the more stronger than the regular unit. And then if I approve for the overnight, we will make more like the sound from the outside and the inside.
Okay. Okay, so you are telling us now, but maybe I would ask staff, Peter or Antonio. I'm just wondering, would this go through a site plan application at all, that you would be able to check that the soundproof material have been built, or how do you ensure that the proofing is done, soundproofing is done?
So the first
no,
thing.
Sorry,
Okay,
Cindy,
sorry.
I'm asking staff.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
For you, Mr. Chair, the use has been existing on the property, so there would be no site plan application if this application gets approved by committee of adjustment tonight. It would simply be approved and the operations would be able to continue to operate after the 20-day notice of appeal period.
Okay, so the applicant has sort of mentioned that they're going to do soundproofing the other rooms. So how would we be assured that they're going to do that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if committee should just be advised, if we do set a condition like that, it would need to be building code compliant, and that should be something left to the buildings department, especially if we do not have a mechanism to clear a condition like that. So, as I mentioned, the use has been existing. We haven't received any complaints. Therefore, checking whether it's soundproof or not, I would leave towards our buildings department.
Okay, so still building department will be involved in one way or another.
Through Mr. Chair, correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, do you think Julian, your comment has been addressed?
Yes, I have no further comments. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from other members of the committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair, my comments and questions have been addressed. I don't have any further.
Okay. What about Jane? None. Okay. So I don't also have any comments. So I'll look for a motion or motions from the committee members. Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I read through the staff report and I move that, and I'm in agreement with the findings and I move, and it meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act. So I move for approval of the application, subject to the conditions of approval under Appendix A.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Chris, you are seconding that motion. All in favor of this motion? Motion carried. So Adrian and the Cindy, your application has been approved with that one condition in the staff report.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. You
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
go to sign off. Yeah. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So the second application is a minor variance application at 91 Dunning Avenue. Is the file number MV-2024-25. The application. The owner or applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw number 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the use of medical marijuana production facility. Based on the information provided to the town, the following relief is being requested. Section 10.1 of the zoning bylaw number 600-17 permits a medical marijuana production use only in the Business Park EBP zoning district. The applicant is proposing a medical marijuana production use in a general employment E2 zoning district. Applicants stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated on the application form, the proposal is to legalize the medical marijuana production use for the personal use of the medical marijuana license holders within north portion of the existing building. The proposed use is not permitted within the existing general employment zone and thus requires relief from the bylaw. Public correspondence. There are 10 letters of opposition and there are no letters of support. Conclusion. Planning staff are of the opinion that the requested variance does not meet the requirements of Section 45(1) of the Planning Act for granting of minor variances. Staff recommend denial of the requested variance. And that's the application. So do we have an agent or applicant who would like to make a presentation or want to speak to this file? Okay, I can see your name there, but would you mind letting us know your name, your full name, as well as your address, please?
Yes, can you hear me, Mr. Chair?
Yes, we can hear you. So you
Great.
also need to tell us whether you are the applicant or agent, something like that.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I am the applicant here on behalf of the owner. My name is David Eagleman. I am an associate and planner at Design Plan Services, Inc. And my address is 87 Skyway Avenue, Suite 200 in Toronto.
Thank you. Can you go ahead if you have any, if you want to speak to this application or you have any presentation to make?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that. So through you, Mr. Chair, good evening to you and to the fellow committee members and members of the public. Before getting into my presentation and the one variance we are seeking, I will note that I did provide a detailed justification letter to the Committee of Adjustment. And there are also additional supplementary materials that have been submitted, such as an odor study and a D6 land use compatibility study, as well as a letter from Mr. Jim Kotsopoulos. And
Yes,
I would hope.
we have them and we have read them.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Copies, yeah.
So in terms of the 4 tests, I'll start with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. So the property is currently designated general industrial within the town's official plan, and the proposed use is considered as a manufacturing use as per the official plan, and that was acknowledged by staff within their report. And on that basis, it is a permitted use within the official plan designation applicable to the subject property. Further to this, the general industrial designation permits a number of uses that are similar to, if not more intense than, the proposed medical marijuana production facility, which consist of the manufacturing and processing of other products, for example. And in this case of the proposed use, there's no outdoor storage proposed. The proposal also specifically meets the development policy applicable to the general industrial designation within the official plan, and that's policy 11.8.2E, which states that permitted uses shall not emit noticeable or noxious noise, dust, or air emissions which negatively impact adjacent land uses. The uses shall be entirely contained within a building, except for accessory vehicle parking and limited accessory outdoor storage. These uses may be situated in proximity to commercial and residential uses or other designations, provided that suitable buffering measures are undertaken to minimize any undue adverse impacts. So, as per the submitted D6 compatibility study and the submitted odor study, the proposal is determined to be compatible, subject to the recommended conditions within those studies. So both of those studies have determined that the proposal is compatible with the surrounding land uses. And there is also no development or exterior alterations as part of this proposal. So it is an existing use that is not permitted. It's already operating within the building, and this proposal is to legalize that existing use, but there are no changes proposed to the existing building through this application. The use is also only contained within the north portion of the building. So half of the building is used by another tenant, the south half. And it is my professional opinion that the proposal and the medical marijuana production use will not result in any impacts over and above what is already contemplated by the official plan. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'll just go through it briefly, but in terms of the zoning bylaw, again, from an impact perspective, this use would have similar, if not lesser, impacts as compared to uses that are currently permitted as of right. So, for example, this proposal would not create noise similar to a club or a motor vehicle body shop, which are permitted in this zone. And the proposal does not materially increase vehicular traffic as a motor vehicle rental establishment or a place of worship would, which are also permitted in this zone. And the only impact really of concern is odor in this case, which is minimal and is within levels the province generally deems acceptable and is proposed to be further mitigated according to the submitted odor and D6 studies. So I'm running up against time, so I can't go through all of my justification, but I provided a detailed justification letter. The last point I'll make, Mr. Chair, is that this use is unique in that it's for the personal medical use of the medical marijuana license holder. So it's not a intensive operation, and I know I'm out of time, but if I may just have a couple more seconds.
Yeah, I
Mr.
know you
Chair.
have gone already, but I'm just giving you so that you finish. Yes, please.
So it's not similar to a normal medical marijuana production use that would in that there is no commercial shipping or receiving, there is no retail sales as part of this proposal, there is no processing. So in that light, I would, in order to put at ease some of the concerns that were relayed by some of the neighbors and staff, I would propose that the committee impose a condition on the approval, should the committee choose to approve the application, that the medical marijuana production use permitted at the subject property does not permit the processing, testing, commercial shipping, and or selling of marijuana, dried marijuana, or cannabis as defined by Health Canada under Regulation SOR/2013-119. And that would effectively limit what can be done at this property, such that only what is being proposed through this application would be able to continue legally. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and it is my professional opinion that this proposal meets the 4 tests under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public delegates who'd like to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have a public delegate here with us today, Jean Robertson. Jean?
Hi, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you could let us know your name, full name, and the address, please.
Yes, my name is Jean Robertson. I live at 29 Wenderley Drive in Aurora, Ontario.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
So I found it interesting, the previous gentleman who was on the call who said that there was no noxious odors. We've been in this house 30 plus years, and in the last few years, I have been unable to keep my windows open at night. If there is no smell when we go to bed, there is a smell a couple hours later, and we have to get up and shut all the windows. We can no longer hang laundry outside. Whenever we take our dog for a walk, there's the smell in the air. People who have tried to sell houses on our street, people have gotten out of their cars and asked, who's smoking pot in the neighborhood. The smell is pervasive. We have a church nearby. We have a high school nearby. The comment that there wouldn't be any issue of criminal element, I think that was made, is also extremely false. We've already had one incident last March where people tried to break in and wound up going through our neighborhood and waking up everybody. We had someone who had tried to break in, try the doors at our house and rang the doorbell, and then tried the doors and backyards in our neighbors' homes. It has been an absolute nightmare dealing with this. We can't enjoy our backyard in the summer anymore. It's as simple as that. We can't sit outside without smelling this. So that's all I have to say. It impacts every facet of our lives and the resale value of our homes. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Madam, for your presentation. So do we have any other, in case, any other delegates, Peter, just in case?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do see a Sandra Humphreys here, that is in the call.
Okay.
She's just joining shortly.
Okay.
Hey, Sandra, can you please give your name and address for the record, please?
Oh, sure. My name is Sandra Humphreys, and I live at 60 Dunning Avenue in Aurora.
Okay, so continue with the your presentation.
Are you asking me?
Yes, yes. we're
Oh,
asking
thank you very much. I appreciate you allowing me to speak this evening. I
Thank
wanted
you.
to just take a few moments to speak on the item of minor variance of 95 Dunning Avenue. Just very briefly to suggest that some of the main concerns that I have is number one, it's not the proper area to have a facility of that nature. It's a known zoning issue. It's been known for several years, and it really should not be in the residential area, along with homes, churches, daycare, such of that nature. The second item, I don't want this to set precedents for the rest of Aurora. I feel that if we allow something like this to go through, we know what's to stop other such facilities to continue to challenge the bylaws and zoning bylaws to enable them to have an opportunity to place businesses of this nature where they really should not be. The third thing is there has been, unfortunately, some criminal activity. I live in the area. There was an attempt to break in. It caused some very serious issues for my neighbors. And it's something that we certainly don't want to see. It's a quiet old part of Aurora, and we'd like to maintain that sense of nature. Excuse me, my voice is not good. The sense that we have there, it's this old Aurora, nice family area. And one of the things that as well, it's very difficult. I know that they've invested on ventilation, but the emissions and odors are constant. Our standard of living is atrocious. I have asked my husband to move several times. I can't stand outside my house and enjoy fresh air. There is none. It's really rare that we get a day where that does not come up our street. And I just feel for the children and the families in the area. We put up with it for a very long time. 2020, I know formally submitted, a request to have it addressed. And it's not an easy thing. I understand it's a large business, a large facility. But unfortunately, they took an opportunity to try to do the business there, and it needs to go out towards the 404 in a proper zoning area where they can work and do the proper, work that needs to be done. Not against what they're doing at all. It's just not in the right place. So that's all I wanted to say this evening. I apologize for my voice. But I wanted to thank you very much to the Committee of Adjustment, to the chair and the members for listening this evening. And I just want to thank you very much for that opportunity. And I support staff's report. Thank you.
Yeah, so we really thank you for coming up and speak about this file, especially the way you sound and so on. So we really appreciate you to come out and speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Peter, do you have any other delegates, if at all? Public delegates?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's all the public delegations for this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So do we have any comments or questions from the members of the committee? Questions to the owner agent? I see Michael, Julian shaking their heads. What about Chris or Jane? No? Okay. So just like me, I would guess normally when the members don't have any comments, it means they've read the reports, staff report, they've heard from the agent and the applicant, like you also provided very detailed information. They read all letters of opposition and they visited the area and so on. So they maybe don't see the need to ask questions because everything's clear. So David, you want to say something? I saw
Yes.
you raising your up your hand.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, if I may just take a brief few minutes just to respond to some of what the residents have had to say, or?
Yeah, okay, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, through you, Mr. Chair, I didn't make any comments in my initial presentation, and firstly, I do thank the residents for their comments. I do understand where they are coming from. I didn't make any comments in my presentation about criminal activity, but I'll just note that that is unrelated to this proposal. It's not something that we're dealing with here with today, and I'm not aware of this being attracting criminal activity or so forth. So that's all I'll say on that. In terms of just, I think an issue that the neighbors have is that they live adjacent to an industrial area. So this is an industrial area. I did provide a context map within my justification letter, and there are a number of industrial uses within the area that the subject property is located north, south, and east of it. And these residential dwellings are just located next to an industrial area. From an odor perspective, I understand that's how the residents may perceive it, but we did again provide an odor study which was completed by an expert and has determined that the odor levels are within the MECP's levels that are generally deemed acceptable. So the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks has set levels, and our odor expert has determined that the odor levels of this facility are within levels that are generally deemed acceptable. So, and then again, from the D6 compatibility perspective, that expert has determined that, subject to the recommendations within the report, the facility is determined to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. So those are my comments, Mr. Chair. I am happy to answer any questions, but I don't think the committee does have any questions.
No, so yes, the committee members don't have any questions. So I'll just, even myself, don't have questions. I've read the staff report, your report, reported by Jim Kotsoporos. I've read, I think, your report. I've read comments from by residents. Yeah, this your report, and I've been to the site, and so I am of complete understanding about your application and the issues and so on, and of course that you are trying to have. You're proposing this use in an area which is not for its zoning. So anyways, so I think I'll look for a motion or motions from committee members. Okay, Jane?
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chair, that application MV-2024-25 be denied.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Michael Visconti, all in favor of this motion? Motion denied. So, Mr. Just want to mention your name properly.
Eagleman.
Mr. Eagleman. So, as you see the voting from the members, your application has been denied. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming and making a presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and have a good evening.
You as well.
Okay, goodbye. Now move to the next application, which is a minor variance at the 68 Kennedy Street East. Its file number is MV-2024-27. The application. The owner or applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of the two-story detached dwelling and an accessory structure cabana in the rear yard. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 24.497.3.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum gross floor area of 370 square meters. The applicant is proposing a two-story detached dwelling unit with a gross floor area of 2.5 square meters. B, Section 24.497.3.3 of the zoning bylaw requires a maximum building footprint of 235 square meters. The applicant is proposing a two-story detached dwelling unit with a footprint of 254 square meters. C, Section 24.497.5 of the zoning bylaw requires an integral garage to be flush with or set back from the main floor front wall of the detached dwelling. The applicant is proposing an integral garage projecting beyond the main front wall of the detached dwelling. D, Section 24.497.8 of the zoning bylaw requires maximum gross floor area of an accessory detached structure to be 40 square meters. The applicant is proposing an accessory structure with the 46.1 square meters gross floor area. E, Section 4.4.2b of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum distance separation of 1.2 meters from the water's edge of the pool to any buildings or structures. The applicant is proposing an accessory structure with a 0 meters distance separation. F, Section 4.12.2b of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum distance separation of 1.2 meters from the water's edge of the pool to any buildings and structures. The applicant is proposing a rear covered deck with 0.5 distance separation. Applicant's stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. The applicant has indicated that the dwelling footprint was determined based on project requirements provided by the client, which maintains a reduced front footprint when comparing to the adjacent neighbor on the east. The applicant submits that the proposal has been designed in a manner that is intended to maintain the character of the landscape while also mitigating potential impacts to the streetscape by maintaining the required setbacks and height restrictions. Public correspondence. There are 7 letters of opposition and there are no letters of support. In conclusion, planning staff have reviewed the application with respect to the Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended, and are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the 4 states of the Planning Act for granting of minor variances. Staff recommend approval of the requested variance subject to 7 conditions in the staff's report. So that's the application. Do we have agent or applicant who would like to speak to this application?
Hi there.
I can see Daniele Would you provide us your full name and address, please?
My name is Danielle Bilodeau. I'm from Justin Cherry Design Studio at 17 Point Street in Barrie. And I'm the agent here on behalf of the owner.
Okay. So do you want to speak this application or make a presentation?
Yeah, I'll provide a brief statement just explaining our variance requests.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So for the gross floor area and the footprint, these were both determined, as you mentioned, based on the project requirements provided by the client. It does maintain a significantly reduced footprint when compared to the adjacent property to the east at 73 Kennedy Street East. Although the garage wall does project beyond the main front wall of the dwelling, which is another variance we're requesting, it does align with the covered front porch. And it does, again, have a significantly reduced projection when compared to 73 Kennedy Street East. When we do look at the gross floor area, it does include the garage as per the town's definitions. But if we do remove the garage area, then the main gross floor area of the dwelling itself is much more in line with the zoning bylaw requirements. We do understand that this application stands on its own and there is no precedence, but we do feel that the comparison between our proposal and the dwelling at 73 Kennedy Street East is worth mentioning. We understand that our property is part of the stable neighborhood zoning, and we feel that our proposal fits well not only in the entire neighborhood, but nicely in between a very large new build at 73 Kennedy and a small, what looks like original home at 67 Kennedy Street East. So we believe that we provide a nice in-between between a transition between a large and new dwelling and a simple and old original dwelling. When we look at the variance requests for the accessory structure of the cabana/pool house, there is a large overhang which contributes to the gross floor area. So if we look at just the structure itself and not including the overhang, then we are below the bylaw requirement and we're only at 14 square meters. We have a similar situation with the setback of the cabana overhang to the pool, which technically is 0 meters, but to the actual structure of the cabana, we do exceed the 1.2 setback requirement. And lastly, for the rear covered deck of the dwelling to the pool, we do have a setback of 0.5 meters, but the deck in question is actually on the ground floor, and this is a walkout basement property. So while it is the setback, it's a story up. But we do meet the setback requirement technically if we take it from the pool to the walkout basement wall. If you do have any further comments or questions, if you want to chat about the opposition letters, I'm happy to. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So Peter, do we have any public delegates who'd like to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no public delegations for this application.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions from the committee members? Christopher?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have a question for the applicant about the pool setbacks and just the accessory buildings. Like maybe if you can walk us through the rationale as to why they have to be so close to the house and perhaps what alternatives were considered with pushing them back?
Sure. Just pulling up the site plan. So when you look at the site plan, you can see that beyond the pool, there is actually what was important to the owners is they did want a pool, they wanted that cabana, but they also wanted to maintain a backyard space beyond that. So we do have a very generous area of 23.57 meters back from the cabana for just backyard space. So I think their thought was to kind of condense it as much as possible while it still makes sense from a function standpoint. So yeah, like I mentioned, the cabana it's a good distance away from the pool. It's just that overhang that gets really close to it. And I think, yeah, it's just so close to the back so that you don't have to walk too far into the backyard if, you know, you're having a pool party and have to go grab something in the kitchen.
Yeah, no, thank you. I understand parts of that. I just think that even for like serviceability, if you were to do something on the roof overhang, like with a ladder, like are you going to be in the pool servicing the cabana roof, like you're cleaning the eaves trough, and even the distances for safety. It's such a nice lot, and there's so much space there. Even like spacing it out like 5-10 feet, which makes no difference in terms of design, but end use, but it does make a difference in terms of safety and serviceability. I think would make a big difference. I don't have any personal like questions or comments on the variances for the house, but I do on the
cabana
and elements there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we totally get that. And we're welcome and open to revisiting the design and seeing if the owners would like to push it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Any other comments from other members? Michael?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I had similar concerns as to what Christopher has pointed out. The closest of the pool to the main structure. So if the applicant can address that with the owner, maybe push it back. There is a generous lot there, so I'm wondering if that's a possibility too. I'm just thinking of children, you know, being right off the deck there or very close to the house, dangerous situations with children. So that was, I share Christopher's concerns.
Yeah, for sure. That's no problem. We can definitely revisit it. If we wanted to chat about, like, would that defer this application, or can we set a condition of what you'd like it to be moved to? Kind of a minimum?
So we have not reached that stage yet.
Okay.
Let's hear from others. And then it's something which maybe we may wish to liaise with the staff and ask the procedure process. Thank you. Any other comments from other members? Not from Julian. What about Jane? No. So for me, I have the same concern as my other two members. Well, there's a lot of space there at the back. Look at the trees, they are far, a little bit far, there will be some room. And here, we can understand from the staff's report in terms of that 2 meters, when you calculate from the walls, things like those. For me, not necessarily the cabana, but the actual main structure. Because the cabana, even if you move it a little bit further down, still there'll be that distance issue. So that's my concern. And just in case, let's say, depending on the voting, the approach which I was going to propose members is to look at each variance, A to D to F, just in case we may not wish to deny the whole or approve the whole, but you may wish to approve some and deny others, maybe concerns, or we may need to maybe, as the agent has said, maybe something considering putting a condition or so that this is implemented, and in that way it addresses the concern, or we deny and then later on is it dealt with, or we defer the whole application so that the applicant can come back and have all those corrections. So Antonio or Peter, if you I'm seeing here that some members or even myself have got the sort of concerns with the distances from the pool to these structures. And the agent, they propose something just in case maybe some members may wish to deny those particular variances, not all other variances. Is there any way the approach you would recommend either to deny some or maybe postpone so they can come back and have those work with staff and adjust those other ones so that there are no variances, something like that? Can you advise, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, for sure, that's a good question for committee. There's multiple approaches committee can go about this application. Given that there's multiple variances, the variances could be voted on a singular basis. So essentially you're voting on variance A, B, C, D, E, and F individually. So you can approve certain variances, some variances could be refused, or you can defer the entire application to the following meeting date. You can approve the application entirely or refuse the application entirely. But given the amount of variances and the comments from committee and from the applicant, it could either be deferred to a future meeting or each variance could be voted on individually.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Daniele, I'll give you this chance. I think it's not typical, but just for the sake of working together, which way could it be? One way, which I understand, which doesn't have a lot of limitations, is to, if at all, we can go through each one or defer. If some members really have strong opinions about denying others, we can defer. My understanding, deferring doesn't mean it's been refused. It's something just postponed and you come back and hoping that those concerns members have indicated they're addressed with staff and you come back and then at that time probably would be just be approved. While denial of some is something like really a decision has been made, a firm decision has been made. And that means you have to come up with maybe application fees and all those other things, which staff may know better. So I can see without making any decisions that we can do each one of them and then deny some, if at all. That's what will be the motions. What do you think? We're trying to work with you here in terms of in case you need the to postpone the application to defer it.
Well, I appreciate the chat that we can have and that we can kind of work through it. That's good that we have options. I guess to get just a bit of clarification, is the committee okay with the dwelling variances? Like, are we okay with A, B, C?
We're not sure. We've not come to decisions yet.
Okay.
We have not voted yet. We don't know, but sometimes from people, from the comments and so on, you would tell how it is. You could see three of us, we were concerned about the distances of with the safety. We talk about children and being close to the building, and especially, let's say for me, I'll talk of myself, that you can see a lot of space at the back there. One would say, why are you asking for variance? There's a lot of space. Many cases it will be like, oh, there's a constraint about space. There's a loss of space. Why wouldn't you not move it back a little bit? Just a little bit, not even very, very far. Why not just a little bit? So that's what the 1.2 meters only. I hope you follow, but we have not made a decision yet.
Yeah.
We have not made a decision yet. So.
Okay, it may be best if you guys are okay with it then, if we defer it as a whole. And then I can address maybe even remove the variances in total, like chat with the owners and let's just meet the setback so that our variance requests are less, I would be okay with a deferral.
Okay. Okay, Chris, you have a comment?
Yeah, for you, Mr. Chair, I think it really just depends, Danielle, on what their priority is, and because you know them best, right, on what's important. Like when I'm just reflecting on David's comments and my comments earlier, when I think about E to F, those don't seem like essential, variance. And this is not a directional statement, but those don't seem like essential variances to me. Like moving something from 0 meters to 1.2 is not a deal breaker. This is not a subdivision lot where you only have 5 more feet. Like you can easily push that back. So I know David asked you the question, if I'm a member of a committee having that decision, like I would have a preference to vote on each one of these separately, like we've done in the past. That would be consistent with how we've treated other applications, but you obviously have the option to take a whole, like the other month and bring the whole thing back, but it might be worth just first going through our thoughts on the other ones before you make that decision.
Yeah, so for me, it's safety. Safety is key and paramount. For some of us, not just a committee here, but we have with our all other professions, which would really be against public safety is paramount.
Yeah.
So that's how we look at the distance from the pool. So I don't want to say much, but that's what I look at. It's the distance, it's the public safety. It's very key. Very, very, very key. I cannot emphasize more. I'm seeing, maybe I'll start with Antonio.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the chairman. The safety is important, and I think bringing it back at a later date isn't going to delay too much the project. And the opportunity is there to defer it and look at the new proposal as an entire package. I think that's mostly appropriate. Thank you.
I also I think we haven't actually discussed the rest of the application. So before anyone makes a decision, I think we should properly discuss the application, and then we can decide how to proceed.
I think at the moment we are discussing, actually, the discussion is you folks commenting on the application as you are doing and providing questions, and then I make a decision in terms of how we proceed. So, Antonio, you want to comment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, just for the benefit of committee. Committee, as I mentioned, can vote on individual variances. So if committee is satisfied with particular variances, they could be voted on individually. And then whatever variances are denied, it would be the applicant's responsibility to comply with the parent bylaw. And if they feel that they can't comply, then they would have to reapply for those specific variances that got refused. But by the sounds of it, it sounds like there are some variances that are okay, and some variances that raise a few concerns. So deferring the entire application is an option if that's what the committee is seeking, but if there are variances that decisions need to be made, then that's also up for deliberation. That's the committee members.
Okay, so Antonio, can you just clarify to the committee the differences or the ramifications of or the difference between deferring the application and denying? Like in this case, they may be denying 1 or 2 or 3, if at all. What would be the difference in terms of impact from financial, from time? I would say in terms of time, maybe it will be similar because it will be the client may come with the next meeting, but any other impacts, financial or anything from, let's say, fees or any other things the town of Aurora would need. If maybe we would clarify there. because we need the minimum possible financial impact on the applicant.
You, Mr. Chair, for sure, I can outline those processes. So if hypothetically speaking, we defer the entire application, committee would put a motion to defer to the following meeting. A report would be brought forward again, either with the same variances or different variances. The only financial impact in terms of the applicant is obviously the delay of a month. So that would be the process of deferring the entire application as a whole. If you were to approve individual variances, hypothetically speaking here, if committee were to approve variances A, B, C, and D, then those would be approved effectively with the 20-day notice of appeal period. If committee then refuses E and F, then the applicant would either have to comply with the bylaw or then appeal committee's decision on those two specific variances. And then obviously the appeal process is a separate process that has its own financial implications for the applicant, in which they can exercise their options on feasibility. So those are essentially the two options.
Okay. So going back to the applicant for giving that option, what do you think? Chris, you want to comment?
Yeah, I think we just need to be super clear because we're getting into minutia of process. If the two last variances that Antonio identified are for whatever reason denied, that doesn't affect the applicant's ability to go ahead with an application to have a pool or a cabana in their backyard. It just means that it would not be at a 0 meter distance. So just to be clear for everyone, the public, everyone.
That's correct.
Just
So we understand that, but it's good to work with the agent to see what will be their preference. That's what we're looking at here. So I'm hoping at this time we all understand and the Antonio has explained, but still give opportunity for the agent, because the agent may look at things differently. So if Daniel, it would good say we can go through each variance, or you could, and if at all, then you would ask a motion. If maybe would defer a motion.
If you do want to chat about the other variances, because I know we haven't yet, let's do that. But if we are good,
we have chatted already.
Okay.
We have two members, Jane and Julian, who didn't have any comments.
Okay.
We have got the 3 members, Michael, Chris, and myself, who had concerns with those with the, I would say, basically E and F with those distances. We went through that, so
okay.
we can go through each one of them, but I'm just trying to give it so that you are also comfortable. That's what I'm trying to do here before I make a decision.
Okay.
We are public body, which is we want to work with our the residents, the businesses in Aurora in a good way. Yeah.
No, absolutely. This is great. I do minor variance hearings pretty regularly, and this back and forth communication is very nice. So if we are just...
And let me just also say, qualify here. It doesn't necessarily mean because some members have commented on one variance in a different way, it means they're going to be refused or whatever. We have not made a decision yet.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to qualify. I don't want to think that we have already made a decision. No. The decision has not been made. Yeah.
For sure. I think to the clients, their priority is the main dwelling. So if our concerns are safety, which I understand is incredibly important, and it's for the pool and the cabana, I am going to make the executive decision for the clients, and hopefully they're okay with this, but I would be on board with the refusal of E and F and us just having to meet the requirements.
Okay. So we're going to vote for each main variance, folks. So any other comments before we move ahead? Any comments? I see heads shaking. Okay, so we're going to be moving, having one of you moving motion on each one of these, and you have a seconder or could be a denial. So just to explain, you have a motion, 1 seconds the motion, then we vote, okay? Or one who comes with a motion, but if somebody doesn't accept that motion, can he say, no, I don't want that motion, can have a different motion. And then we vote on that. So when we have a motion, we do have a seconder, everybody silent, that means there's nobody supporting that motion. Then I'll ask for another motion. And then he will ask for seconder of that motion. If there's somebody seconding that motion, then he will ask if all in favor. Okay, do everybody follow? We have a motion. If there's a seconder.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can these A, B, C, and D, can they be voted on as a group? Do you have to go through each one separately?
Yes, we cannot make that decision. Otherwise, we have already predetermined. So we cannot do that. We have to vote on each one of them. So I have somebody to have a motion, and then you have a seconder, or there's no seconder, people are all quiet, and then you ask for a second motion, and then we have a seconder, and then we vote. Michael.
Through you, Mr. Chair. If we got to vote on them individually, I'm looking at A. It's a 22% increase in gross floor area. That's not a minor variance, in my opinion. Right? We're going from 370 meters squared to 452.5. That's a 22% increase. That's not really minor, in my opinion. So therefore, you know, I could live with the whole thing if the safety requirements are in play. I mean, that's why I think a deferral is more appropriate, in my opinion. But yeah, if I'm looking at each one individually, then I have a problem with it.
Yeah, so that's why I was trying to tell Danielle that we have not made a decision yet. We have not had motions yet. You could tell from sometimes how the committee are commenting and so on. You'd say, or maybe they may deny this or not. So it depends. So we'll go ahead now. I've described we'll look at each one of them, and then we'll vote on each one of them. And that's what it's going to be. Okay. So, okay, just a bit. Does everybody understand the process, how we're going to do it? Okay. So, I'll look for a motion for minor variance A from one of the members. Okay, Chris.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I move to approve minor variance 2024-27, specifically number A, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Okay. Do you have a seconder? Well, got Jane as a seconder, or in favor of that motion? Motion carried. So you first number A has been approved. Do you have any motion or motions for variance B? Jane.
I'll give you a motion to accept variance B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Subject to the conditions.
Subject to the conditions.
Yeah. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Chris is seconder. All in favor of that motion? Motion carried. Minor variance C. Do I have a motion or motions for that minor variance? Chris,
I move to accept C, variant C, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
okay. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Okay, Jenny is seconding that motion. Do we have all in favor of that motion? Motion carried. Variance number D. Do we have any motion for that variance, minor variance? Christopher,
I move to make a motion to accept variance D, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
do we have a seconder for that motion? Jenny is seconding that motion. All in favor of that motion? Motion carried. Variance number E. Do we have a motion for that variance? Michael,
I move to deny that section 4.12.2B.
okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Again, do we have a seconder for that motion? Okay, in this case, I would also vote. I am a seconder for that motion. All in favor of that motion? Motion carried. So that E has been denied. Variance number F, do you have a motion for that? Michael,
Through you, Mr. Chair, I move to deny section E 4.12.2 F. Yes.
yeah. Do you have a seconder for that motion? Julian is the seconder. All in favor of that denial motion? Motion denied. So, Daniele, for your application, just as a summary, we'll go to minor variances A, B, C, D. Those the motions were carried. And for minor variances E and F, the motion is that the motion is denied. Okay, so the two are denied, E and F. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate your time and talking about the file. It was a difficult file, but we just have to make sure that we do it objectively as we are, representing Aurora. We have to make sure we show that everything is very objective. And as you see, we want businesses in Aurora, but we just have to make sure we make the appropriate decisions in where these businesses or residential areas. So thank you again for being with us tonight, and have a good night.
Thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So the last application is a minor variance application at the 15 Tyler Street. It's the file number MV-2024-28. The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a 5-story mixed-use building with the at-grade office and residential above. The vehicular access is off Temperance Street with parking at rear. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 8.2 of the zoning bylaw 6000-17 permits a maximum height of 10 meters. The applicant is proposing a 5-story residential building containing a maximum height of 20 meters. B, Section 5.4 of the zoning bylaw 6000-17 requires parking for offices at a rate of 3.5 spaces per 100 square meters of gross floor area and 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit, with a minimum 20% of spaces provided to be set aside for visitor parking. Therefore, 10 parking spaces, inclusive of a barrier-free parking space, is required. The applicant is proposing a total of 7 parking spaces, inclusive of the barrier-free space. Applicants stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated in the application form, the applicant seeks to provide rental units with the increased maximum height of the proposed building. Public correspondence. We have received 7 letters of opposition and there are no letters of support. In conclusion, planning staff believe that the requested variance meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act for granting minor variances. Staff recommend approval of the requested variance subject to 14 conditions outlined in the staff report. That's the application. Do we have an applicant or agent who wants to speak to this file or this application?
Hello.
Hello.
There we are.
Hello?
I can hear you. Okay, great.
Okay, so we need your name and the address, please.
Okay, my name is Andrew Risk. I live at 106 Uxbridge Pickering Town Line.
Okay, so do you have a presentation or you want to speak to this application?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair and committees and members and staff and residents. My name is Andrew Risk, owner of 15 Tyler Street. Application of minor variance, application seeking relief for building height and reducing numbers of parking space. For proposed 5-story mixed use building with office space on the main floor for residence use only. 15 Tyler Street is located in the southeast corner of Temperance and Tyler Street, just west of Young Street. It is designated within the Aurora Promenade, mixed use, and designated as downtown. I first met with the staff in 2019 with full support and encouragement to build this. It was delayed because of the pandemic. It is now timely process for a newly adopted Town of Aurora Official Plan 2024 development within the Aurora Promenade. As noted in the staff report, the proposed development will also provide new housing for the community. The current 1-story resident is currently listed as Heritage, as was originally slated to be delisted in January 2025. However, it's been delayed. Reviewing the building's heritage has demonstrated there's no value to this building. As noted in the staff report, my proposal is mixed maximum of 5 as per newly adopted official plan. But I just want to say something about this 5 stories. The 5 stories is going to be 2 stories. Is going to be 1 unit, which is going to be for my wife and myself. We were going to retire there, but we still had to call it a 5-story, even though the living room and the second floor is 1 area. My understanding is that staff is missed updating the area in the town that don't align with the official plan for downtown designation, and that the Aurora Promenade and major transit stations in the areas identified as required review baseline maximum height provision. Given this proposed maximum height of 20 meters continues to meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The proposed office ground floor will be work live-in space for residents only. The building reducing the parking spaces to 7 is adequate enough for this development. I understand development is being proposed in the midst of construction of Amica and a church, so emotions are running really high with the residents. I assure you, my intent is not to upset the residents and frustrate them even further. I will be making the building for my future home and my wife and family, also providing much needed rental housing in the neighborhood. Point 1, the building meets general intent of the official plan. 2, meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw and development of the land. That is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate for your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, do we have any public delegates who would like to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have one public delegation today, Bianca.
Okay, Bianca, if you'd give us your full name as well as address, please.
My full name, excuse me, I'm losing my voice and I apologize. My full name is Bianca Moretti. I live at 7 Tyler Street in Aurora with my husband, Randy Spearin. We're fairly new residents of only 4 years. Our intent had come here to be close to a small town neighborhood and community where we could retire. And we're well aware of the fact that the address that we live at is zoned mixed use, which would entail both commercial and residential. But having had a history in building and architecture in various parts of the world, working for architects and major construction companies, I am a proponent of infill and intensification where it is allowable and done with discrete respect for the surrounding area. If you would permit me, through you, Mr. Chair, my emotions are a bit fragile right now because I found out about the meeting while I was out of town. I came back. I tried to prepare the best I could my feelings that would have material relevance to this discussion. I wrote a lengthy letter. It was sadly in need of editing. There's 2 errors that I want to correct. There's the first one, which was the actual square footage is 4,000 or 400 square meters that this proposed tower will be built, and it is a full 5-story tower with a 6th level for, I guess, mechanicals at the top that have to pertain, I guess, to the elevator. It is literally one story less than what is being built across the street. And Andrew is correct. A lot of us are exhausted by the 10 years plus of construction, demolition, water remediation, and water table issues that have impacted our home, the stability of our foundations. I've tried to work amiably with succession planning across the street. So what I want to present here is that I'm not a hostile person or a NIMBY who is trying to stop what it is the intention of council to make an improved downtown core. But I do want to, and I wrote a lengthy letter, but I do want to bring out several points because I realize I only have a few minutes left. And I went through the planning comments. And one of the things that I really, really have to say is that this is a Heritage and Main Street location, and that putting a 65-foot tower that houses only 4 apartments plus a very unnecessarily large penthouse suite at the very top next to Cindy Jewett's house at 11 Tyler Street and mine at 7 Tyler Street is disproportionate and inappropriate, and definitely challenges the character and identity of this neighborhood. I have the support of many people in our neighborhood, And I'd like to speak on their behalf that we are being basically set aside, our needs are being set aside for the needs of one gentleman who wishes to build this tower on his property for his retirement. I'm 68 years old. My husband is 76 years old. The thought of another 2-3 years of construction, of destabilization of our foundations, of water coming into our homes, it is exhausting and frightening. And we're now negotiating with Succession already for damages that have been done because of construction. I asked if there had been a survey for water disappropriation, and I've asked people to consider the fact that he is wishing to build a 5-story tower next to a 1.5 Victorian property, a small Victorian property that will be dwarfed by the sheer size of this building right up to the property line, and on her side, a solid brick wall. And the mistake I had made in my paper was that it is the east elevation, which will overshadow her property. The fact that this would be considered desirable, the intensification, we have intensification, we have no parking. The traffic patterns in this neighborhood are so badly congested. We're going to have 80 new neighbors across the street moving in. We have 40 townhouses, just a 5-minute walk down Tyler Street, which will bring more people. Specific to Mr. Risk's assertions, the office downstairs does not have a bathroom in the plan. I don't know if that's part of building code. Second of all, anyone who's working at home who may want to use the office will certainly have their clients attend. I work from home. And I know that we can't say that, there's 4 other people who are going to be living in that building besides Mr. Risk, who will not allow their clients to come and pick up documents or visit the neighborhood. So I don't believe that to be true. I expect it to have significant impact on our property values because the current construction and activity around this very, very small area of Aurora Village has been impacted. And there's proof of it in our real estate data. I've been watching it very carefully ever since I moved here. And I just feel, sorry, that is my timer. I just feel that the penthouse is an unnecessary grandiose statement that would be better built elsewhere, where it's in keeping with the contemporary nature of his needs. If we're to infill and provide affordable housing, which is much needed, and I agree with you, it is much needed, we should do it in a kind and respectful manner to the neighborhood that provides affordable rental, because there's plenty of rental. It's what people can't afford. Okay, so this does not answer the question of providing housing, as noble as it may sound. We are desperate to have some sort of agreement that we accept the fact that development will come knocking on our door. We just feel that this particular building is completely inappropriate and has ignored our needs. He has not communicated with us. He's been dismissive and in a conversation with myself 2 years ago. It's not that we're angry with the building across the street. We're upset because 15 houses will surround his lot and have the shadow of his building cast on our properties. And for it to be said that there's not to be any significant adverse effects on our property and streetscape, it is not reality. I have to tell you that my age dictates the amount of time I'll be living here, and it's caused me reflection on my financial future and what I will be able to afford in terms of retirement, if need be. My husband's in the hospital in Kingston. I've been traveling, and if I had to put my house up for sale now, I would leave with a loss because of the construction in general all around. But once that 5-story tower goes up, I will probably die in this house.
Okay, thank you, Bianca. I thank you. I was generous with you. I let you speak up all you mind, but you had gone beyond the required 5 minutes. But that's okay. Thank you very much for your presentation and
Thank
for
you.
coming. We
Thank you.
appreciate.
It was noted through through you, Mr. Chair. It was noted for your generosity on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Peter, do we have any other public delegates?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no other public delegates for this application.
Okay, so I open this to let me ask Bianca, do you have questions maybe to the applicant? Or just your presentations? I know your presentations was sort of explaining your point of view, and to some extent also some questions, which I think maybe the committee members will ask. But I know I noted I was supposed to have 2 delegates, but you are the only one, so I can give you an opportunity to ask questions. You have good questions, direct questions to the applicant.
Yes, I believe there were to be other delegates as well. Cindy Jewett, who is number 11 Tyler Street, is more emotionally overwrought than I am and unable to speak, and so I represent her as well. There are at least 10 other homeowners that we have been in communication with. Some are not able because they're either out of the country, one specifically who is a noted engineer and would well have represented our needs much better than I would have. It was not able to attend this meeting. I would like to let you know that it's not so much who is here, that I am the only one here to speak to you today.
Yeah, so I'm asking if you have any questions, specific questions.
Yes.
To the applicant. That's what I'm
as I
asking.
said, I don't have an issue with the fact that we want to improve many aspects of the downtown core and have intensification according to the Aurora vision. I would like to ask why they would allow, why it was deemed appropriate to build a tower that only has 4 apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floor of this building and allowed for a very excessive double apartment for the owner. I mean, he has a perfect right to choose where and how he wishes to live, but not at the cost of the fellow residents in this neighborhood. How that was deemed a minor variance to begin with, but mostly we're not talking about building a 5-story.
Excuse me, Bianca. I think we have not decided yet. The committee has not made a decision yet. It's just an application,
yes.
And we are looking at that application. So whatever I'm seeing here,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So I ask you to, if you have got a question, specific question or questions to the applicant, that's what I'm giving you a chance. Because we have not made a decision.
I would ask each and every one of you to consider yourselves as the neighbors who live around this proposed building. And if you do or do not agree with the way it has been characterized as being not a significant change, or that it will not impact badly in a significant adverse way, not only on our personal properties, but on the streetscape of Aurora. I would like to ask each and every one of you how this fits in with the streetscape you envision for Aurora.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Bianca. We really appreciate you speaking on this file. Now, committee members, do you have any questions or comments? Julian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering if the applicant wants an opportunity to respond to Bianca.
Yes, I would. Thank you very much for letting me respond to that.
Thank you.
So there is people that support the building. Ian Baker, that owns the largest building right across on Temperance from us, is 100% behind the build. He understands that the promenade is going to happen. We fit into the promenade that the town designed. We followed every guideline that what the town wanted us to build. And for her saying it's a tower, it's not a tower. The size of the apartment that we have for ourselves is less than what she has. She has a larger house by the time we put two little apartments on top of each other to have our own space. We have grandchildren, we have 5 children, and I don't believe it's a tower. It's our home. I'm a builder. I've built tons of homes. I've developed lands. I've taken 3 awards for heritage homes in Markham. I've been doing this business for 30 years. I know what heritage is, and I respect it and understand what she's talking about, the heritage of her home and stuff. But Amica, it feels like everybody's coming down on me because Amica, the build of Amica. And I don't think we deserve this, because we had to slate it in 2019 to build this. And it's just because the pandemic started, we had to put it on the back burner. So I get why people are frustrated with Amica. They're saying that, there's cracks in their walls and stuff from Amica. Well, our building, I walk in it, there's not one crack in the wall or the ceiling or anything else. So I'm not too sure where they're saying they're getting damage from Amica, because we didn't experience any damage whatsoever from that build. And I was right behind that build. I understand the promenade has to happen, and it's going to be great for the community, and it's going to bring up the property values. It's not going to bring the property values down. Everybody, once the promenade is built, everybody's going to want to live in that area. I've seen it happen in lots of other different places. That's what I have to say about it right now. Thank you.
Julian, do you have another question or you want follow up? Okay, Jane.
Yes, I have a question I want to ask the applicant regarding this condition. Prior to approval of minor variance, the owner must obtain a final approval for a daylight triangle. Has the applicant done that? And if so, what's the size of the triangle? And how is that going to affect the location of his proposed building?
So the triangle was brought to my attention 3 days ago, 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago. So we haven't had a chance to address that yet, but we will be addressing that.
So just a follow up on Jane's before join Southern. So okay, can I just confirm you understand what the daylight triangle is and what they are asking for?
No, we don't. No, sorry. No.
Okay. So I will not go much into that. I will explain, but I will not go much into that. But it may affect the location of your building. Basically, imagine at the corner there, you got the Tyler, you got Temperament. So they will cut. Imagine you got the 3 sides of the triangle.
Okay.
So one side, it depends on how long one side will be. So imagine you are on the road there. You are going to the road right of way, because basically the width of the road and the intersection. And I don't know whether are you seeing my hands? If you are able to see my hands.
Yes, I can. Yep.
So this will be one side of the triangle. This will be another one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have got the base. So it depends on how long. So this will be from let's say from Temperament, from the corner, around the corner to wherever it is. Maybe it may be 5 meters or 7.5 or 10 meters. We don't know.
So we're staying on this. Yeah, I understand.
Has to be the same length as that. And then you have got what you call the opportunities, the base of the triangle. That will be the limit of your building of your site.
Okay. I understand what you're saying.
So that can affect your building in terms of moving it back, making smaller, or there could be other effects you'll have. But the main effects are making your property or size even small, a little bit smaller, if it's not already set back. Okay. But if it's set back already, then you are laughing. It's no problem. You already have.
Right. So we are staying on the same footprint as the building that's existing.
Okay.
Exactly the same. We were asked by the staff to move the building up to the property line on the front because they were asking for that. I didn't want to, but they asked it would be better for us to move it up to the property line. So we changed our architectural plans and moved it up a foot and 8 inches or something it was.
Chris, before you move, Jenny, you wanted to have another question. Continue if you had another. I just wanted to jump on that in case I have to ask later on. Go ahead. I think you have something you wanted to say.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Antonio, what size of daylighting triangle would the town want?
Okay.
You, Mr. Chair. So in regards to the daylighting triangles in place to ensure safety for traffic and visibility for pedestrians. In terms of the size of the daylighting triangle, that will be left up to the professional engineers. And that's why we've imposed a condition. So if this application were to get approved, the daylighting triangle will need to be to the satisfaction of engineering department. If that impacts the current building footprint, then that will need to get addressed, but that daylighting triangle is a requirement from our engineering department.
So let me understand this. So if we approve this and then he comes to engineering and they tell him they want a certain size triangle, then it's going to interfere with the location of his building, I would assume, looking at this drawing.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the variances is not for building location, it's strictly for height and parking. So if the building needed to be pushed back for whatever reason, it's not tied to any of the variances before the committee tonight. The variances are strictly for height and for parking. If the location of the building changes and eliminates an additional space, then that would require another minor variance. But the building footprint, there's no setback variances before us.
Are you through, Jane?
Yes, thank you very much. That's fine.
Okay. So before Chris, let me just follow up on Jane. Jane's questions are like similar to mine. So just to make sure I don't have to ask later on, I exhaust. Okay, so while I agree with you, Antonio, the variances are about the height and the parking. One asks why the town is putting all these other variances. There's a very good reason, and we understand it is a very good reason indeed. What happened here? Lost. Why? Do you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, we hear you, David.
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. Okay, sorry about that. But anyway, the question is, and the concern is that later on, when it comes site plan, we have approved this, we're worried the staff may have problems to convince the developer in terms of where the building's now set. Because if I'm the developer, for example, the way he is, if these are the ones who have set out as variances and we have not recognized the daylight triangle in terms of sight lines, in terms of where the building is, it will become a problem with the town in terms of convincing the owner, say, okay, you need to move back. So there's a good reason you had these conditions. That's what I'm trying to say. But would, in my opinion, I would trust that the town staff, maybe at one point when there's building permits and so on, you're going to look into this and make sure that there's no impact on the owner, as well. It doesn't give a problem with the town to make changes and so on. Chris.
So I do have questions and opinions about this, but I think that the first and foremost is we're missing information here. So just to clarify, there is no site plan approval for this because it's under 10 units. So if this application were to be approved, it would move right to the building permit stage. And given all of the concerns expressed tonight by Bianca and all of the letters, and plus my own expertise and questions, I'm absolutely not comfortable with that at all. And I do think that a little bit more thought needs to be put into this decision. And we cannot make a proper decision without at least bare minimum knowing the daylight triangle information to even know if a building can safely go here, because that then would impact the number of parking spots that are already reduced below the standard that's required. So I think we as the committee owe it to the public to know that information before we make any sort of decision on this application to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a follow-up? You said you had some questions and comments. Chris, do you have more other ones?
I do, yep.
Yeah, continue.
My first question is, I'm just trying to better understand for when we do make a decision on this application, what is the purpose of this office space? What is the true purpose, why you're proposing this, and what will it be used for?
This is me, you're asking?
Yes, yes.
I have my own company. I'm a builder and developer, and I will be using it as my personal office.
Right, because
I have my home at home here. I have a large office. My wife does all the administration for all the land development we do. And so that office space will be used for that.
Okay. So that's my first kind of primary concern. And I also noticed that on your application, there's nowhere for any sort of garbage storage, snow storage. None of that has been addressed in your application. So I'm just trying to better understand what your plan is for that.
Well, the snow removals, we had a chiropractor's office there, and we had no problem removing the snow from the parking lot. The garbage is going to be going in the front on the back. Would it be what, east? It'd be west corner, back west corner where there's no parking. There's no parking there because the parking's going along the east side of the property. So all the parking's going along the east, so it'll be in the far corner.
So I'm just wondering practically, how would a garbage truck pick up that?
Easily, you just drive in and pick it up. Drive in straight in and pick it up. It's a full parking lot's fully open. That whole one side.
There, they would not be able to pick up the garbage. Is that correct?
Sorry?
Someone's parked there, they would not be able to pick up the garbage because
there is no parking in that corner.
In P7 on your drawing, the space beside it's where your garbage would be. That's the only spot.
It'd be right in the front of what was that, 7? P7. Yeah, right in the corner of Temperance and the very far corner. So you drive in, back it up, pick it up, load it, and then leave.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My plow truck will go in there, and I can go right to the back of the building. I can swoop that whole parking lot with my plow truck. So a garbage truck, there's plenty of room for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about the current use and how that might be possible, because obviously it's a commercial business there. It's different when you have 7 people parking there that live there, right? So that's a bit of a different consideration. And just to be clear, I have no concerns with the overall intent of, I guess, what is going to be going in this area in the future. And I think Bianca even recognized that too. Like, that's the promenade. That is right off of Yonge Street, right? So the downtown core eventually one day will be developed into sites like this. But there's minimum site requirements. And also, I think just the way that this is designed can be done in where it's not overbuilt. So for example, if you wanted to keep this larger 2-story unit, you can go down a floor and still have rentals, still have your office, and still have your 2-floor suite for you and your family that doesn't intrude on the entire neighborhood and have almost a 6-story brick wall with no setback or separation on the side of Temperance. That I have a huge issue with. I just don't think it's necessary. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I have kept it on the same footprint as the existing building. And I didn't want to bring the building back to overwhelm the neighbors. Because if I bring it back into the parking lot and make it larger, they're going to be even more upset at me for bringing it back.
Yeah, you don't have any more space to bring it back because you don't have parking. So
no, I would be able to go over top of the parking, right? I could build over top of the parking, so it would just drive in and then go above, right? So I could bring the building back. I have the room. The staff already told me I could bring it back. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to block the sunlight for her backyard and everything else. So I kept it on the same footprint.
So again, I think the concept is a good concept with what you're trying to achieve, and it is intended. It's obviously aligned with the official plan. I don't think it needs to be that many stories.
For me to get that many stories, for me to get a livable space for myself and my family, I had to set back on Tyler Street, 10 feet from the very front, because of the setbacks on floor 4 and 5. So which made my unit even smaller. I only have 1 bedroom on the 1 floor and 1 above. There's no other way of designing this building to be able to get the square footage I need to live. I'm living in a 6,000 square foot house right now. I'm downsizing because we're retiring.
No, my point is you don't need to change your unit design at all. You can just eliminate a floor, bring your unit down, and not overwhelm the entire neighborhood with the.
But if I bring it down, where's my living space?
You just eliminate one of your floors and you bring your unit down 1 floor.
And where am I supposed to get the space? So we're saying bring it back?
So no. You take your floor plate, right? You've got the office on the ground floor. Then you'd have your 2nd floor would be 2 units.
Yep.
The 3rd floor is where your unit would start. So you'd be on 3rd floor and 4th floor. So you still achieve the overall intent.
No, it doesn't achieve the overall intent because I have 4 adult children with partners, and they're going to be living in the units. So how's that achieve what's going on here? That doesn't achieve.
Yeah, we understand. Chris, that's his design. So we have his design in front of us and we look at it as it is.
Okay, I'm not supporting the design, so that's my goal.
Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess I have a question for the planner and also for the applicant. I took a drive into the area and I noticed it's a one-way street. Tyler is a one-way street heading east, is that correct?
No. Oh, I should have said that.
There's no left turn from Yonge Street or right turn, I believe. So my question is, has there been traffic studies done, taking into account the added units that are going in there?
For you, Mr. Chair, the application was circulated to our traffic engineer. The need for a traffic study wasn't determined, or wasn't required, I should say.
It wasn't required. Okay. So a question for the applicant then is, are you okay with? I guess you're okay with it. I have that concern, is that you're putting in more people, more cars.
Well, there's like I began on the first thing. We did have a chiropractor's office there, which was the parking was full every day, and there was nobody parking on the street. There was nobody parking on the street whatsoever. We had no overflow. The traffic, people were going in and out easily. We had no concerns about people not getting in and out. So I'm pretty sure that it's fine, because we already proven that with the chiropractor's office that was full every day, with clients coming and going. There was no concern with the traffic. And I believe that Tyler Street is both ways. It's just because they have construction going on right now that nobody can get up and down the street.
Bianca, would you like to comment on that? Or
Yes, on some of the matters that have been brought up, I'd like to disagree respectfully with Andrew Risk. He does not live here full time. I do. And the chiropractor who was there closed shortly after I moved in. Andrew had the place available for rent for literally months. I could be wrong in saying 7 months, but it was a significant length of time where he could not rent it. There was rarely more than 1 or 2 vehicles in the parking lot at all times. At all times. Why? Because I have a daughter who would rollerblade down the street and turn around in that driveway. To be honest, the story is now changing. He was presenting it as an intensification program to provide much needed housing, and now it's turned into his own personal dwelling that's 5 stories high. And the reason he wants the 4 additional apartments is to house his 4 grown children. It's such a stretch of the imagination that 4 adults with their families would choose to live in these tiny apartments, all within 1 tower, speaks to me of insincerity. He talks about his need, his scaling down and retiring there. We are already here. We have already put our plans in place. We have already spent our money finding a home that would take care of us, and a neighborhood that would support us and provide us with both physical and mental health support by having this kind of community. And for him to come in now and say that his needs precludes ours has become now nothing about the Aurora vision, but more about personal need and ego, having his place on his property. I completely disagree with the traffic. And also, we don't have a hate on for the construction project across the street. We're in negotiations for damages done to our home, all 3 homes. The hair salon, Chic, which is number 5, Tyler, mine and Cindy's have all had foundational cracks. I have repaired them. When they had to truck in thousands of pounds of soil to push the water down so that they could create a stable substrate for that size of building to be constructed. Now, I understand Andrews is not of the same scale, but it is of the same height. I have a 7-story elevator tower in front of my home, which was never originally designed in the elevations that I saw. It was changed at a later date. And I pivot. I say, fine, we'll put 2 very large trees at the front. That way I don't have to look at that. And now we're going to have another small tower, and it is not a home. They are not apartments. We're talking about a footprint of less than 2,000 square feet, which was expected to house a 5-story tower, 2 of which is an excessive personal choice in living accommodation. And now all of a sudden he can't lower it even 1 floor, as maybe we're trying to find a middle ground of some sort, because he wants his 4 adult children to move in.
Can I interrupt here now?
Yes, sir.
I think it's only that the delegate, the committee member asked the question to respond, but I think Bianca, as a delegate, you have already had the opportunity to talk about this, and I think I gave the okay for the member to ask, and I was hoping you were just going to answer, what he was looking for, but he kept on speaking some of the things which he already did when you had the opportunity to speak as a delegate.
Thank you. Sir,
So-
through your chair, did I misunderstand the question? Is he
No,
asking
no,
me
it's
my
okay.
expectations?
No, it's okay. Yeah, yeah. The point is you had the chance to speak about that, and some of the things which you are speaking now, you have spoken about them already. So, so anyways.
I'm sorry, I thought it was a rebuttal, but that's fine. You know,
Yeah.
I think that this hasn't been well thought out, and it should go back to planning to be, you know, redesigned.
Okay.
Can I answer that?
Okay, yes, please.
Okay, so first of all, the chiropractors was rented out for 5 years. I've been paying property taxes since 2017, like everyone else that lives in the area.
Longer than Bianca.
Yeah, longer than Bianca. I've owned that property longer than her. Like I said, with the traffic, 5 years of the chiropractor was rented there to chiropractors, and the parking lot was full every single day. No issues with traffic whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any other questions from Michael before I ask Antonio to speak? Or
No, I'm good with those answers. Thank you.
Hi, Antonio.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just for the record, Tyler Street is not a one-way street. There's just construction currently going on, which limits it to a one-way. But once construction's finished, it'll have the regular two-way traffic. Both sides.
Okay, so any other questions from members of the committee? Mine is just a question from the to the applicant. Basically, it's something from the conditions. If let's say this application is going to be approved, do you understand all the conditions in this application, in staff's report? Hello, sir. The applicant, is the applicant still here?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
Yeah. So my question is, do you have you read all the conditions of approval in the staff's report? Should this application be approved, have you read all these conditions in here?
Yes,
you understand
I
them?
do. I understand all the conditions. Yes.
Okay. So there's one condition number 9. It's about doing a CCTV of the existing sanitary sewer, which can be used by the development, and also checking the size of the water service. Based on the comparing your existing development and this proposed development, I'm guessing you're going to probably increase the sanitary flows. Did you do any pre-checking with the town staff in terms of if that sewer will be okay?
With the town with the sewage? No.
Yes.
The town was all behind the building and didn't require for me to look into that. I was never mentioned to look into that whatsoever.
Okay. I'm asking you just for your own advantage, just in case sometimes we have all these find that something later on is a problem.
And I was just trying to follow.
Then you have to start digging and displacing sewers, changing the water service, things like those. Then it becomes more impact on the neighbors, maybe digging and all that stuff. That's why I'm asking this question. Yeah. Okay, I don't have any other question. Any other questions from the members? Julian?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So this is just actually a follow-up of what Chris was talking about with the lack of information because of the size of the building. So I'm just wondering, is there a way that we can get that information before rendering a decision? I guess
Get
it's
that
a question
information
for the town staff.
from the applicant or from the town?
Town staff.
Okay. Antonio.
For you, Mr. Chair, if you're seeking additional clarification with the daylighting triangle, the only mechanism would be to defer the application. Because once an decision is made, whether it's approval or refusal, then there's a different process that the applicant will have to partake in. For example, if the application is approved, the applicant will need to satisfy all 14 conditions in the report, or else the decision doesn't get final notice. If the application is refused, then the applicant has his own separate process to either appeal the decision or render the drawings to make it comply with the zoning bylaw enforced today.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. Any other questions from the committee members? Okay, so I think I'm going to propose that we look at these minor variances, individually, just in case, rather than the overall application, just to be fair with the applicant. So we'll start with the first variance, which is variance A. So I'm looking for emotional motions from the committee members.
Sorry,
Julian?
through you, Mr. Chair, just, I guess I'm still stuck on the previous question, so before
no problem.
Before we start with the motions.
Yeah.
So I was just processing what Antonio was saying, it's good. I'm sorry, so I guess one option could be to defer this application and then wait for the studies to be completed, right?
Yes.
This is a question for Antonio to confirm.
For you, Mr. Chair, what studies are you referring to specifically?
So one example that was raised during today's discussion was a daylight triangle.
For you, Mr. Chair, yes, that could be investigated further if the application is deferred. So you can touch base with our engineering staff.
Would that be a condition in the deferral, or is it just something that would happen behind the scenes and while we wait for the next committee meeting?
You, Mr. Chair, the application would be simply deferred just like any other application, and it would be presented as a total package similar to tonight, just to at a later meeting.
Just to add to Julian Yang, the other one which will be of concern is the study about the servicing of the site, to deal with sanitary servicing as well as water supply servicing, which is the condition number 9. We are somehow unclear on that one there. That could also affect the development.
Right, yes. So there are a lot of good points that were raised in today's discussion. So I guess my comment after all of that is echoing Chris, we don't have enough information. It doesn't seem like it's a good idea right now, well, at least for me, to make a informed decision for something that is obviously a big deal for both the applicant and the neighbors. So unless, does anybody else have a comment?
Yeah, okay, comment, Chris?
I agree wholeheartedly. I think a deferral is a minimum kind of outcome here.
Okay, so
yeah, I can see the okay, Jane.
I also agree. I think it should be deferred. I'm stuck on this daylight triangle and how that is going to affect the location and the size of the building.
Yeah, I'm seeing you when you look at conditions here, it shows a lot of things are still not clear. We're talking about also one about the confirmation of the servicing capacity. You normally don't have these. When these are put in, it means really there's a lot of information missing. Michael?
I tend to agree with the deferral, but in lieu of some of the information that the applicant provided, that it'd be his family there, 4 adult children with their partner. I'm looking at the request for 7 parking spaces. And if you do the math, I mean, that's not enough to support 4 adult children and the owner and his wife, like, in my opinion, anyway. So I think that there needs to be some clarification there as well.
Okay. I saw a hand by Antonio. Do you want to speak again? Go ahead, Antonio.
Here, Mr. Chair, just for the benefit of the committee, the reason there are so many conditions tied to the minor variance approval is due to the fact that the applicant is not subject to a site plan application, given that the proposed development is under 10 residential units. Pending the approval of the committee of adjustment application, you go straight to building permits, given that it clears all the conditions tied to the report. And that's why, there are a list of conditions that maybe would have got identified during a site plan process that this application is not subject to. Because in previous years and past legislation, this would have been subject to a site plan, but not in today's current planning landscape, and hence why all the conditions tied to the minor variance.
Yeah, I see, to come for that reason, that they're not going through a site plan process. I can see some members are worried about that it would go, it's less than 10 units. Then it would go straight to building permit, and it will be under building code, which are got different things. Some of these may not be addressed adequately. And while it may look okay for the applicant, I know the applicant has mentioned has got a lot of experience in building in Markham and other areas. But sometimes you also care about the applicants, the residents, the businesses in Aurora, so that they don't have to go through the process of, if I'd known about the sanitary sewer, find that it's small, and they cannot be given service allocation. The other issues they have, daylight triangle, you find that it's not enough. They're asking for 5 meter or 7.5, whatever it is, for sight lines. And then, they're not able to build the building. It's going to start reducing. It's affecting the whole development. Then it comes to, to starting point. You're not even advancing at all. It takes you to 0. So we care about those things. We care as members. We care about our residents. We care about the businesses. I know sometimes people or applicants may not look at that, but we care. We want good development in Aurora, whether it's residential businesses. We want them to be successful. We want to be good ones. So, Jen, you wanted to comment, I think?
Well, the only other comment I had is when this drawing here, there's no dimensions on the property. We don't even know, not that I can see anyway, the actual size of the lot. I mean, it might be nice if he added that when he comes back, if this gets deferred.
Yeah. Anyway, so any other comments before we make a decision? I still thinking, I can see committee members, almost all of them, they're talking about deferring. I don't see really the need. I can go through each one of them to be fair, but it will be like A, and then the motion will be deferring, then it's deferred. Then go to B, it will be motion deferred, then it's still deferred. Or whatever motion, because we don't have any motion here. I just want to make clear to the applicant, we don't have any motion here. All motions are open. You've got a motion of approval for each one of them, or got a motion of denial, or the motion of defer. So we have all these motions. So I don't want to the applicant or anybody think that the decision has been made already. Julian,
Okay, so I'll give a motion to defer application MV-2024-28 in its entirety.
do you have a seconder for that motion? Jane has got that seconder. Do we have all in favor of that motion? Motion is deferred. The motion is carried, and the motion carried is the deferral of this application. So the applicant, Mr. Andrew Risk, your application has been deferred, and you heard from comments from the committee members. They just want more information to provide clarity about the overall application.
Okay, very good.
So we wish you a good night. Thank you for coming here, being with us all this night. And we hope you come back later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Now we have finished all the applications. Now, any new business? Antonio or Peter or members of the committee? Okay, so I'll look for a motion of adjournment. Jane?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, thank you very much. The meeting has been adjourned.